Welcome to an interview with a psychic. My name is Alexander Wilson, and here today with me is Shane Smith, a world renowned medium. Today we'll be discussing topics such as murder mysteries and the great beyond.
My name is Shane Smith. I'm a psychic. They referred to me as the lightning psychic because I was struck by lightning several years ago and it enhanced my abilities.
Wow. How did it enhance your ability?
Well, I've been a psychic my entire life since I was a kid. My mother used to give me the little milk cartons with faces on them of the missing kids, and she would say, "Tell me where they are." That helped a lot. But then I started seeing these kids, and I would see, for example, one of them in a barn underneath some wood, and they were clearly dead. But after I was struck by lightning, now I can see the person. I feel how they died. I can see who did it, what they were thinking, and where they are more clearly, how to get there, where the body is, things like that.
Wow.
I was just in Ireland in January on a murder case. That was pretty intense. This 87-year-old man was murdered, and his sons live in Texas. They live in both Ireland and Texas. So they reached out to me because I did a TV show, and it's on HBO Max right now. It's called Monsters and Mysteries in America, Season 3, Episode 3. So they reached out to me, and they send me photos, and I'm able to see a lot in the photos. And then they decided that they wanted me to come out there. So I went out there, and I saw a lot more. So there were, it was partly the Irish mafia, and then a bunch of corrupt cops who were all involved. They wanted this man's, the deed to his land. And they meant to rough him up, but he had a heart attack while they were beating him, and he ended up dying 15 hours later.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when it comes to Fort Collins, have you been a part of any murder cases here, like the Horseshoe murder?
Yes, actually, I just worked on that murder a couple of months ago. So what I do is I use my dowsing rods to tell me where it happened. I follow them, and then it makes an X over the spot where the guy was murdered. And then I get visions of who did it and what happened. It was a guy in Greeley, had a tattoo on his hand. And he was angry, and it was a random shooting. Anyone who would have walked by at the time would have been shot.
Wow.
But the trouble is the cops often aren't very cooperative because I don't have physical evidence. Yeah.
Wow. Now, have you ever worked on any other cases within Fort Collins or surrounding?
Not usually cases in Fort Collins, but I have a lot of clients here.
Okay, tell me about your client.
Well, for example, I had a lady come in a couple of months ago, and her mother-in-law, who died about a year before that, came through, and she didn't like her mother-in-law. Her mother-in-law wanted her forgiveness. She also told me that her son, this woman's husband, had a prostate issue. So I said he has a prostate problem, needs to go to the doctor. So he did, and come to find out he had prostate cancer. So we were able to work with that. I gave her a lot of suggestions that come through for natural remedies and surgery, so he's fine now. I had a client yesterday whose sister came through, and another person that was with the sister and the mother who died recently was the woman's uncle, and I noticed that he had a uniform on from the Vietnam War, and I'm able to identify people who are in the armed forces by the uniform that they have on. So I was correct in all of that.
Wow. Now, have you experienced with any clients about anything about CSU? Because I know CSU has been rumored that there have been a few hauntings on campus.
Okay. I have not particularly had anything like that with CSU. But what I can tell you is oftentimes that is residual. In other words, do you know what residual is? Okay.
Explain it for our audience.
So what residual is the energy that stays there. So there's a difference between a ghost and a spirit. A ghost is residual. So you'll see them walk by. The ground keeps that energy. They walk by and they disappear. A spirit will actually turn around and talk to you. There are a few spirits at the Crown Pub that I've seen. It was an old man. He likes to tease people, and then when people are there by themselves at night, he'll throw bottles off the shelf. He was also a pedophile, and I saw this little girl run across the bar. But as far as CSU, I think most of that is residual. So the way I like to explain residual is like if you go into a bathroom and it just reeks because someone was in there, but they're not in there anymore. They left that smell. That's residual.
Awesome. Now, tell me more about the Crown Pub. Are there any other spirits there?
Off and on, they walk through sometimes. Most of the time, the spirits that are around are the people in the Crown Pub, for example, the patrons. It'll be their relatives or friends who've passed on. So they're around all you guys all the time, all of us.
Wow. Now, when it comes to ghosts and spirits and all of that jazz, would you say that every person that passes becomes a spirit? How does that work?
99.9% of the time when they pass, unless they were just a horrible human being in life, they pass right on. They have spirit guides and birth angels, which we all do, and pets, and just relatives on the other side who help cross them over. Then they go through a life review, so they see what they did right and what they did wrong, and if they hurt somebody in any way, they feel how they felt and all the effects, the domino effects that it made. They're just there to observe, and then we go on and live in incredible bliss until we decide we want to come back and learn more.
Wow. Now, with spirits, are they living in incredible bliss, or did somebody not help them pass, or how does that work?
Yeah, they live right when they pass. They leave the body and they go into the heavenly realms where we're all from. So they just cross right over. Sometimes I've seen if a person is in a car accident and their spirit comes out of their body. Sometimes they walk around a little confused, but then one of their guides explains to them that they've turned back into the physical, and so they take them across.
And so when they come back as spirits, do they simply just like walk back and then they can walk back?
They go back and forth.
They can go back and forth.
They visit us all the time.
Wow, that's beautiful. Now, when you describe soul contracts, who is I hate to say the word, but like matriarch of the soul contracts? Who is in charge of it?
Okay. So what happens is we are all part of Source or God or whatever you want to call it. It's like we're sparks of Source who wants to learn all of these things, the yin, the yang, the good, the bad, everything. So before we come into an incarnation, we sit with our group of people, our group of souls. We all have soul groups. And we decide together, well, this is what I want to do. Will you be my mother? Will you be my father? Do you want to be my brother this time? Because we change roles in every incarnation. So we decide, make these contracts. This is what I'm going to learn. This is what you're going to learn. This is how we're going to do it. Then when we come into the incarnation, of course, we have freedom of choice, but we're usually on one path and it kind of zigzags.
When we were at Bingham Hill Cemetery, we had a psychic use dowsing rods, and while that was happening, we were going back in the footage, and voices kept coming through. It was really interesting. Have you ever experienced like ever recording something and then hearing something after?
Yes. I was doing an investigation in another town here in Colorado, and I heard this voice say, "Mom, Mom, please help me." It was this young lady who was murdered. And when they're murdered and raped, I feel the whole thing. Someone has a heart attack and death, when they have a heart attack and die, I feel the heart attack. If they're raped, I feel that, but I'm able to separate it. But we were recording everything, and then when they went back and heard the recording, they heard her say, "Mom, Mom, please help me." Yeah, but see, that was a residual thing. She was saying that while she was being murdered. Yeah. And then I knew that her body was buried in a field near the local airport. So you could hear jets go across, and there was no jets ever land in that level, but they were just showing that that's where it is near the airport.
Wow.
And that came on the recording.
Well, is there anything else you'd like me to know, like our audience to know?
Just know that if someone commits suicide or dies of a drug overdose or gets drunk and dies in a car accident, they go through, when they go to the other side, they go through some help. They get their soul sort of rejuvenated, and then they're in peace and paradise. They don't go to hell. There's no such thing as hell. There's low-level entities, yes. Satan is not a real thing, but it's just a low-level feeling. Like if we don't have dark, we can't have light. So we're constantly pushing against each other. But the vibration of the earth is moving up, so our vibrations are moving up. And so the light is getting bigger, and it's sort of swallowing the dark. We'll always have light and darkness, but people now are becoming more aware, especially little kids. They're so much more aware nowadays than they used to be. And the ETs are helping us. There's a whole, that's a whole nother story, but yeah, just know that your loved ones who die always end up on the other side in bliss, no matter how they died.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Well, that was an interview with a psychic. We learned so many new things. Be sure to check out Shane Smith at The Lightning Psychic on all social media platforms. Thanks so much, and hope you tune in next time.